Hey guys, and welcome to my new series, TheLakeGuardian plays some games and then talks about them, because why not? In this video I'm going to be going over the Pokémon trading card game. No, not that Pokémon trading card game. This Pokémon trading card game. You know, the one for the Nintendo Game Boy Color. I don't actually know much about the game before I played it. You see, I like Pokémon. So one day, I thought, I'm going to play every Pokémon game. And, you know, this includes all of the spin-offs. So this does in fact mean that you can hope for videos on Crystal, Yellow, and of course, everyone's favourite, just for reference, I will be playing the enhanced versions and the remakes for each region. So for Kanto, I'm going to be playing Yellow, Leaf Green, and Let's Go Eevee, because those are the ones that I chose. Anyway, enough about that. As someone who actually does play this TCG in real life, I thought I might enjoy this, so let's start playing. You play as some random kid who lives in a world where the entire world is based off Pokémon cards. Not Pokémon themselves, just the cards. Just to be clear here, it's not actually clear if Pokémon are real in this universe, just the cards. Anyway, like, it's some weird reality where everything that we do is to do with Pokémon cards. There's actual scientific communities in this game that are dedicated to Pokémon cards. I mean, imagine some kind of weird reality where everything we do is based on Uno or something. Anyway, our boy, our main character here, who I named Red, is super into Pokemon cards and wants to get a hold of the legendary cards. What do the legendary cards do? What Pokemon are they? I don't know. I can assume that it's Mew, Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres, and Mewtwo though, because those are legendary. Those were the Pokemon that were considered legendary when this game came out. So Red goes through the science lab and is taught the ways of the funny Pikachu card game by this guy called Dr. Mason, who, by the way, who has the same Japanese name as Professor Egad, so I trust this guy already. By the way, it seems that I was actually wrong about what the legendary cards are, because I recently got a Moltres from a booster pack that was some Pikachu-obsessed girl just gave to me for beating me. By the way, that's how you get new cards, is you beat people, and then they'll give you a booster pack or two, or maybe even more. You get to choose a deck, which is one of the free Kanto starters. I obviously chose Bulbasaur, and you're off. I quickly found this game follows the same plot as the main series games, kind of. There's 8 clubs or gyms which are each themed around a specific type, and then there's the Elite Four for you afterwards, and it's kind of fun. If you enjoy playing the TCG in real life, you'll probably like this game too. But there are some gripes I've got, there are some issues that I need to go over. First of all, the battles take way too long, and to prove that, all of the footage used for this video is a single battle, and this whole video is probably not even as long as the battle that I had, but they take way too long. The average is around about 14 minutes, and which doesn't really matter based on the opponent. So if you're playing on an emulator, like I was, I do recommend using speed up hacks. And even worse than this, most matches are limited to 4 prize cards instead of 6, and the gym battles are for 6 prize cards instead of 4, and usually take up even more time, even up to like 18 minutes, which is kind of crazy. Anyway, this game actually reminds me of a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Even though I've actually never played a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game or watched an anime on Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't play the card game either. I've never done anything Yu-Gi-Oh! related. I probably think this because the battles are called duels, which is hilarious, and it's very obvious that they just took that from Yu-Gi-Oh! To make it sound cool. The controls are good, and the menus are really well made. They're super detailed. Something that surprised me was the attacks actually have animations, which is pretty cool, and very unexpected for a Game Boy Color game based around a Pokemon card game. There's a lot of reused assets from Red and Blue, even with the main character from Red and Blue, Red. His sprite is used as an NPC a couple times, and a lot of the sprites used in games are either just ripped straight from Red and Blue, or slightly modified. The game is actually quite challenging, but you'll often lose to bad luck, but at least that's what it feels like to me, because there's a lot of quite literal coin tosses. At least there's no bull crap with like critical hits. I mean, can you imagine that? Well, that would be a nightmare. And what happens is you start with a chosen deck, and then each time you battle, you get 2 random booster packs to increase your arsenal of Pokemon cards. It makes you feel a little bit like Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh! Make with Ash Ketchum, which I absolutely love. There's a guy in the lab where Egad's long-lost brother is, and if you beat this guy, he only gives you energies, which is really nice to have, because it's hard to come across energies in this game. Anyway, we have to talk the names of the NPCs. We gotta talk about the NPCs. And I don't know if you guys have played Pokémon Colosseum. If you haven't, you should. It's a game where pretty much every single character has a weird nickname, like Norts or Scrub. Those are all names of real characters, by the way. Anyway, the Pokemon trading card game doesn't have this problem, but has the complete opposite issue, and there's a serious lack of creative names. There aren't any cool names, and they're just standard white male names like Joshua and Amy. I'm pretty sure I've actually already battled 2 different Andrews, and as of writing, I'm an hour into the game. How about some more interesting ones? For example, when I was a kid and I first played through Alpha Sapphire, I found Tate and Liza, the psychic type gym leaders, really interesting, because those were names I hadn't heard of before. Obviously, some Pokemon character names aren't real names, like I don't know anyone called Winnoa or whatever, because that's not a real name, but a lot of them are real names modified, which are taken from, real life, and are all interesting names instead of just Andrew, Joshua, Amy. There's actually one of the Elite Four is actually called Amy, which is one of the least intimidating names I've ever heard for a Pokemon game. I mean, like, the Pokemon series is full of interesting names, but none of them are here, weirdly enough. There aren't any funny pun names like calling someone Biff for a fighting type Pokemon duelist. By the way, that's what they're called. No, they're not Pokemon trainers, they're Pokemon duelists. I kind of get why they're called that, because it's kind of like how in Pokemon Legends Arceus, they're called Pokemon wielders, because the term for a Pokemon trainer didn't really exist at the time. There doesn't really seem to be a real story, other than the fact that our boy Red wants to be the very best like no one ever was. To catch them is his real test, but to train them is his cause. I would go on, but I won't. He has to beat all the clubs and the Elite Four to get the legendary cards. Still no clue what they are, as I also got a Mew after fighting a random grass-type Pokemon duelist. There's no actual leveling system in the game, so you can do whichever gym you want in whatever order. That's right, Pokemon Scarlet. The Pokemon trading card game was much ahead of you, even though it came out, like 20 years beforehand. Anyway, you just kind of have to choose a certain type that the gym leader is weak to, and orientate your entire deck around that. Hey, at least there's no I'm not complaining. There's no grinding, which is great. The gym leaders actually use 6 prize cards instead of 4, as I mentioned earlier, but you can potentially sweep them with one Pokemon, which I've done couple of times and it's super satisfying. As long as you've got right energies, obviously. It's actually a little jarring to walk into a gym or a club or whatever they're called, because they're all walking in place like it's some kind of weird cult ritual. The club leaders can be challenging, and they do use some weird and interesting stuff in their teams, like the kind of stuff that a boss in Pokemon Colosseum was, and I love that game. For example, while writing, I saw a club leader put a defender, which is an item reduces damage taken by 20 on their Jigglypuff, which had double edge, which does 20 self-damage, so they put it on there to neutralize the self-damage, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know if it was coincidental or whatever, but I think it was cool nonetheless. Anyway, once you get to beat a gym leader, you get the 8 badges. But if you lose, however, it's a real big shame, because you're sent to the Shadow Realm, where your soul is tortured forever. Now let's go over a couple of the gyms. There's electric, grass, fire, water, science, which whatever that means, fighting, rock, and psychic. The science gym actually appears to be themed around artificial Pokemon like Grimer, Porygon, and fucking Mewtwo. Yeah, you heard me right. They've got a Mewtwo in a gym in a Pokemon game. This is like early game stuff too. It's just a Mewtwo. 50% of the time you can just skip all of the other Pokemon duelists in a gym and go straight to the gym leader, which is kind of ridiculous, and if you haven't played an actual real Pokemon game before, you don't usually do that. Usually you have to go through all the gym trainers or some kind of puzzle or whatever, unless you're in Johto in Gold and Silver's Kanto. Anyway, it took me about an average of 2 or 3 tries to reach the gym leader. I'm pretty sure it's got something to do with the luck, because you don't always draw the right cards that you want. Sometimes you'll draw a load of crappy cards or whatever. And after defeating the gym leader and sending their soul straight to the Shadow Realm,
looks like you're going to the Shadow Realm, Jimbo.
You get their badge. Like in the main series, you need 8 to finish the game, then you can challenge the Elite Four. Now, do you remember the legendary cards? Like, turns out I was right, but only kind of. Instead of them being legendary cards, they're actually legendary decks, each of them revolving around either Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, and Mewtwo, and they are hyper difficult. Like, it takes you way too many times to beat them. Like, it took me about 5 or 6, which is way too many. Anyway, you'll eventually banish their asses into the Shadow Realm, enabling you to use the legendary decks for yourself. However, there's a serious lack of content into the game, as after you do this, there's no reason to do anything other than get all the other Pokemon cards, and there isn't really anything preventing you to just immediately challenging the gym leaders. There's also no evil team in this, which is weird because I'm pretty sure the box art, specifically the back of it, actually talks about fighting villainous people, which you don't do in the game, unless you count the science team leader, who has a Mewtwo, which is evil because it's too hard. Yeah, there isn't much just preventing you from progressing other than the gym leaders, which you can just pick off really quickly. I'd say that you actually really only need to do about 20 duels in the entire game, which is the bulk of the game, because that's like 20 multiplied by 14, which is the amount of minutes that you spend dueling, which is a big number. Too much for me, really. Anyway, it took me about a weekend to finish. Once you've done that, other than getting all the Pokemon cards, which I don't really want to do, there's really nothing else to do. If you enjoy the Pokemon card game, I recommend this to you, but to a casual Pokemon fan who maybe played Scarlet and Violet or Ruby and Sapphire or whatever, not judging you based on your Pokemon games, they're all good. You can skip this one if you want. I personally give this game a 5 out of 10, which may get me killed because there's probably a fan base behind this game, but that is a sacrifice I am willing to make. Anyway, goodbye, have a good day, and don't forget to never stop using your noggin or whatever. I don't know. I need to come up with a catch. Hi guys, and in this episode of the TheLakeGuardian Plays Games event talks about them because why not, I will be playing Pokémon Snap for the Nintendo 64. In the world of Pokémon, you play as Todd Snap, who hangs out with Professor Oak all day. Todd Snap is actually a character that's in the Pokémon anime, in which he's a famous photographer, so I guess Pokémon Snap is canon in the anime. Something actually quite cool about this game is that a lot of the voice actors from the anime, such as Professor Oak being voiced by Stan Hart, are in the game, and the Pokemon have their anime voices too, which is very cool, at least to me. In this game, Professor Oak wants you to complete something called a Pokémon report. What's a Pokémon report? I don't know. I assume it's some kind of Pokédex of sorts that compiles photographs taken of Pokémon. Now, once Professor Oak tells you a bunch of stuff that you may or may not care about, we're off to start our Pokémon Snap adventure. To put it simply, it's kind of like a first-person rail shooter. You get it? You get it? Because shoot is another word for to take a photo. I'm so sorry. Anyway, you use the control stick to aim your camera, and the Z button to zoom in, and A to take a photo. And it's somehow fun. I have no clue how taking photos is so fun, but it somehow is. I'm actually enjoying this more than I thought I would, and I'm only a little bit into the game. Disclaimer. At the moment, unfortunately, despite my previous video, I can't make a Pokemon Hey You Pikachu video because I don't have an N64, obviously, so all of the N64 games I play on this channel are recorded via emulator, and the emulator that I'm using isn't compatible with a microphone. So if anyone knows an N64 emulator that is compatible with a microphone, and I can play Hey You Pikachu on, let me know in the comments below. Now, in this game, you have different levels that involve different locations for taking photos of different types of Pokemon, such as some plains, a power plant, and even a volcano actually. Each level only takes around 2 to 3 minutes to complete, which means obviously you can get through them pretty damn quickly. You can save only at Professor Oak's lab, which is fine considering how quick the levels are. But whenever you do this, he just kind of awkwardly stares at you as you are locked in place for about a second, unable to do anything as he awkwardly stares directly into your soul. Anyway, after getting a certain amount of points, Professor Oak will give you and I quote, apple-shaped Pokemon food. No, it's not an apple though. Definitely not an apple. He tells you to use it as bait for getting better pictures of Pokemon. But then he immediately tells you to use it to make an electrode kill itself by throwing it to one of them, which will cause it to use explosion, killing itself. I'm pretty sure Professor Oak might be evil. I guess the leader of the Gen 10 evil team could be Professor Oak.
it's a possibility. I really like the way that you can use the Pokemon food to interact with your surroundings. You can make Pokemon fall over, make them drown, push them into lava, and more. You know, all the fun stuff that you want in your game rated E for everyone. For example, throwing Pokemon food at an electrode makes it explode, which I already went over, but that can actually be used to summon more Pokemon or open up a secret. You can use apples to knock a Charmeleon into lava, which will make it evolve into a Charizard. Not sure how that works. I don't know why I didn't just do that in my playthrough of any Pokemon game with a Charmeleon. You find an egg at one point in the volcano level, and you have to throw it into lava, which will make it hatch into a Moltres, which is very cool. However, you get points for taking pictures of Pokemon, and the points somehow don't scale based on the Pokemon's rarity. You could get more points for taking a photo of a Bulbasaur enjoying an apple than a picture of Articuno, the legendary Pokemon of winter. I must say, the Pokemon food physics are kind of impressive, at least for a game on the Nintendo 64, obviously. Now, if you get even more points, he will give you a Pestable, a device that, according to Bulbapedia, irritates Pokemon to get them out of the way. What's even worse is that this is the only item that was excluded from new Pokémon Snap because it, and I quote, didn't fit the developer's idea of being humane to Pokemon. It releases, and I quote this is not something I'm making up, this is legitimately straight from Professor Oak when he gives it to you. It releases a noxious gas that knocks out or stuns Pokemon. Yep, we're straight up gassing Pokemon in this game. That's pretty terrible. It's just as bad as I thought. If you throw it at a Pokemon, they just wipe the fuck out. They get knocked out on the spot. I don't think that's sleep powder in a Pokeball. That's poison gas in a Pokeball. Yep, you heard me right. Professor Oak is a biological weapons maker. Now, I don't know much about Professor Oak, but I do know one thing. Don't ask where he was during 1939 to 1945. However, credit where credit is due, it is a really cool mechanic. You can use it on all the levels that you've already been in. You can use it to wake up a sleeping Snorlax, hatch an egg, and more. You can also go through all the previous levels and just chuck Pestables and see what happens. It's fun, trust me. The same thing goes for the Pokemon food. Now, after a good while of Pokemon photography, I unlocked most of the missions, and I had a new goal. Find the 6 Pokemon signs, because they're connected to the legendary Pokemon. Well, I've already seen Moltres, so I have no idea what this other legendary could be. Zapdos? Articuno? Mew? Mewtwo? Oh, whatever it is, I'm sure it's worth it. It sounds like it at least, so I'm gonna go through all the missions and try and find them. I also got a booster for my cart, which is great. It is a shame that I don't need it as I'm playing on an emulator and can just use speed up instead, but if I was playing on original hardware, I'm pretty sure this would be an absolute game changer. Get it? Game changer? Get it? Because Pokémon Snap is a game. Actually, I'm just finding out that my emulator doesn't have speed up. So I'm going to be using the booster quite a bit, actually. Oops. Now, I'm on the home stretch of this game at the moment, and because of this, I now need to unlock the final item in the game, the Poké Flute, to get the last few Poké signs. That's a lot of Poké. Anyway, the Poké Flute requires a whopping 130,000 points in total for each Pokemon registered. That's quite a lot. Keep in mind, Pestables costed almost half that amount. It's 72,500 points for each Pokemon. And you need to go out of your way and get bonus points for taking pictures of Jigglypuff, singing, and perfect the shots and make it so all the Pokemon are centered and right and all that other stuff. And only then can you obtain the Pokeflute. Now, finally, we've got all the Pokesigns, and we're going to this place called the fabled Rainbow Cloud. I wonder what we'll encounter. Hello? Lugia? Or whatever it is. I'm looking forward to it. It's Mew! The mythical Pokemon Mew! Incredible! And you know what Professor Oak wants us to do? Catch him? Make friends with her? No? Throw Pestables at her. Imagine you're walking around in this sacred location and you see Jesus. And you decide to start throwing bombs of chlorine gas at him. Wow. Ugh. Professor Oak, you never cease to amaze me. In all the bad ways, obviously. This is the only kind of boss battle, I guess you could call it. I guess even if you could even call it that. It's the only one in this game, nonetheless. Mew in this uses Barrier to shroud and protect herself from her arch enemy, to not only her, but all Pokemon and Pokemon only. Photography. It's pretty easy, and if you hit her with 3 Pestables, her barrier fails, and you get a moment to take a photo of her before she uses Barrier again. It's actually quite cool and climactic. A lot more than the Pokemon trading card game's ending was. I beat this game in about 2 afternoons, and I actually really enjoyed Pokémon Snap, and I'm going to be giving it a final score of 7 out of 10. Quickly, before I go, I'm actually going on holiday soon, so you might see some less videos from me for a good 2 weeks. Trust me, I'm still alive, and as soon as I get back, I'll be back to making videos. Next time, on Pokémon Yellow version. Hey guys, in today's episode of TheLakeGuardian Talks About Games Because Why Not, I'm going to be going over Pokémon Yellow version for the Nintendo Game Boy. This is the enhanced version of Pokémon Red, Blue and Green, all of which are for the Nintendo Game Boy. It's heavily based on the first season of the Pokemon anime, because that was out when the game came out. For example, your only option for a starter is actually Pikachu instead of Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle. You can still encounter these Pokemon via events, like there's someone in a place that will trade you one. So you can play the game and have all 3 Kanto starters on your team. Now, when you start the game, Pikachu is an ungrateful bitch and doesn't love you, just like in the anime. How sweet. Now, what you're meant to do in this game is keep Pikachu in your party so he likes you more and whatnot, but I decided not to do that. You see, I have a sort of revenge for being such an asshole. I brought, actually, a potion from the Pokemart, and I spammed it on Pikachu. So if Pikachu is at full health, and you spam potions on him, it doesn't use potion, but it acts like it was. This actually increases his happiness, but doesn't use the potion. So you can do this in Gen 1, but only Gen 1. Which is a bit of a shame, because, you know. But once he considered me his best friend, I went up to this guy who would only give you a Bulbasaur if your Pikachu is at max happiness. And I got the Bulbasaur, and I threw Pikachu straight in the box. I also named him Farto. I'm pretty sure he does deserve it, that ungrateful electric rat. Also at the beginning, you meet this kid called Blue. He's your rival, and he is a massive asshole. And you can name him anything, so you can imagine the consequences of this. right? Now, as you progress through the game, you will at some point run into Team Rocket, and they are the bad guys of this game. Their scheme is pretty simple. Steal Pokemon and sell them on the black market. They're basically the Pokemon versions of the Mafia. They're led by the ground-type Pokemon trainer Giovanni, who also just so happens to be the Viridian City gym leader. Funny how that works. Jesse, James, and...
Cheers! That's right!
They're also in this game, as they are references to the Pokemon anime. Now, Pokemon battles are an essential part of the game, as they are done as turn-based RPG combat. Each Pokemon has at least one type, up to 2, and each Pokemon has 4 attacks or moves. Moves have different effects. For example, there's a move called Flamethrower that has 100% accuracy and 80 base power, and Fire Blast has 80% accuracy and 120 power. There's a lot of other stuff too. It's much more in-depth than that. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. My method is very different though. My method involves just using my favorite Pokemon, and that's what I did. Now, the objection of Pokemon Yellow version is you have to go around Kanto, get all the gym badges, and defeat the Elite Four, and then defeat the champion. But that is never my goal with a Pokemon game. My goal is instead the following. Become the Pokemon champion, and most importantly, get all the legendaries. Legendary Pokemon are sort of more like, gods than just powerful animals. They're mostly hidden away. Sometimes they're at the end of a long and grueling dungeon. They could be captured by some villains, and you have to rescue them. And some are behind a ridiculous puzzle that's impossible to solve without a guide. Regirock! Alright, there are a total of 5 legendaries in this game. Those being Mew, Mewtwo, Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. You can get them by, first of all, going to deep within Cerulean Cave for Mewtwo, which you can do at the end of the game after you beat the champion. Zapdos is in the Kanto Power Plant. Articuno is in the Seafoam Island Cavern. And Moltres is in Victory Road. Mew, however, is actually only attainable via glitch. But luckily enough, it's pretty easy to get accomplished. I'm not going to explain it here though, someone else can do that, someone more qualified. Now, as I progressed through the game, I actually collected a pretty powerful team of Pokemon. I got a Butterfree that I named Buggy. I got a Mew, using the glitch bit I mentioned earlier. A Nidoqueen named Nidu, a Ninetales, a Venusaur, and a Vaporeon. And eventually I got to our first major stop, Seafoam Island. Supposedly, deep within those treacherous and freezing caves is the legendary bird of winter, Articuno. And I was gonna go down there, track it down, and catch it. The Seafoam Island's cavern is full of water that has a strong current that you have to block off by pushing stone blocks into holes to prevent the current from whisking you away. After lots of thinking, I got to Articuno and engaged combat with it. It was strong, blasted away my Butterfree with Ice Beam, as well as my Ninetales and Venusaur, before being paralyzed by Mew's Thunder Wave, giving me the opportunity to catch it. It was successful. 1 down, 3 to go. Eventually, after a bit of research, and by that I mean Googling, I found out that Zapdos was last seen recharging in the Kanto Power Plant, which was near Lavender Town, so I healed up all my Pokemon at the nearest Pokemon Center, and walked there, because none of my Pokemon in my party can learn Fly. After finding my way there, I found out that the power plant was abandoned. Nevertheless, I continued forward. As I trudged onwards, I noticed at the back of the power plant it was still active. I assumed that there'd be some kind of strong electric type there. And I was right. Perched next to a power cable was Zapdos, the legendary Pokemon of Lightning. He immediately attacked on sight, and I sent out Butterfree, That was probably a bad call on my part, as Zapdos immediately hit it with a crit super effective Thunder. I sent out Mew, who was missed twice by Thunder, allowing Mew to hit it with 2 Mega Punches before falling to Thunder on the first try. I sent out Venusaur to tank Zapdos' Thunder while I lobbed Ultra Balls at him. Eventually, I caught Zapdos and sent him into the box to join his brethren, Articuno. 2 down, 2 to go. Do you guys like this weird, dramatic retelling of how I obtained all the legendaries? I mean, please do tell me, as you can tell me if it is poopy, and then I won't do it again if it is poopy. Anyway, back to Pocket Monsters. I was eventually able to start Team Rocket's evil schemes that include the following: stealing the special glasses, stealing the action replay Pokeball, and being a gym leader. Actually, can I talk about Lavender Town real quick? This is probably the most well-known location in Pokemon history. You go to this spooky town, the music changes to the track that launched 1,000 creepypastas, and as a kid, I was super scared of this place. I mean, like, even though I hadn't actually played Kanto before, the ghosts, buried alive, music and whatnot really scared 14-year-old Ollie. I actually stopped playing Let's Go Eevee because I actually found Lavender Town to be too spooky. I did actually finish it about 2 years after getting the game because I came back to it and I played it and it's pretty fun. Anyway, back to Yellow version. I finished all the gym battles and stuff, and I went to Victory Road. Oh boy, time for another dramatic retelling of the funny Firebird. As I explored the dark, ominous caves of Victory Road, it came to my attention that there was a possibility that Moltres, the legendary bird of flame, was somewhere here. I eventually encountered it, its flames lighting up the otherwise ominous caves. I actually don't think I'll describe them like that anymore. Point is, I caught Moltres and an Ultra Ball, sent him to the PC, which is right where he belongs, and of course, he and his legendary bird siblings will not be used in the Elite Four. I was actually quite underleveled throughout the entire game, and I was about to fight the Elite Four while I was 15 levels lower than them. I had Venusaur, Ninetales, Butterfree, Nidoqueen, Mew, and Gyarados. I kind of absolutely destroyed the Elite Four in 1 to 2 tries. Yeah, the AI is kind of fucked. The fact that I can sweep Lorelei with a level 41 Ninetales is kind of crazy. I'm sure it's a lot harder in the remakes, but I must admit I did find Lance quite a bit of a challenge. Mostly because I had no counter to his absolutely bullshit free Dragonites that hacked into the game illegitimately. Blue was actually quite easy for me, mostly because I seemed to have a counter for all of his Pokemon. Sandslash went down to Vaporeon, Alakazam was defeated by Butterfree, Executor was knocked out by Ninetales, and so on. And finally, I destroyed the dreams of an 11-year-old child and was now the champion. But I still have one more thing to do. Go to Cerulean Cave and catch Mewtwo. And I did that. He was level 70, so it's very, very hard to do for me and my level 44 Ninetales. Butterfree was able to put Mewtwo to bed with sleep powder, and that let me sock an Ultra Ball to him. No, I didn't use my Master Ball. It's more climactic that way. Anyway, this game is fun. I do think that it is the worst of the mainline Pokemon games, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. The Pokemon series is brilliant, so it's actually really good. Lack of first-game content, very cool legendary encounters, amazing music, shitty AI, and TM Flash. 7.5 out of 10.
Ian plays games and then talks about them. And for this episode, I'm playing Pokémon Pinball. Pokémon Pinball is an extremely self-explanatory game. To be honest, it's Pokémon Pinball. It's what it sounds like.
It is, in fact, so self-explanatory that there is no introduction. You just gotta choose between the red and the blue board, and then you're straight into it, which, when I started the game, made me really confused, as I had to spend a good few minutes trying to figure out what the fuck I was supposed to do. I played the game for about 10 minutes before eventually going to Bulbapedia to find out what you actually do in this game. Basically, what happens is that you get assigned a location from Kanto to catch some Pokemon. And then you have to catch a Pokemon by playing Pinball, of course. There's 151 Pokemon in this game, which is pretty cool, as Pokémon Snap only had 63. There's actually a Rumble Pack built into the game cartridge, which is awesome. But I'm playing on an emulator, so I can't experience that. So, from what I can understand, there are two modes in the game. Catcher mode and evolution mode. In catcher mode, the player enters by lighting up 2 or 3 get lights by letting the ball pass a certain tab. If the player lights up 3 lights, they get a different Pokemon to if they light up 2. When it starts, a Pokemon silhouette appears in the middle of the lower field, and the player must hit the bumpers to gradually turn all 6 pieces of it to cover. Once that is done, the actual Pokemon appears there. The player must then hit it 3 times to light up what says catch 2 characters at a time, then hit it 1 last time to catch a Pokemon. Once the player has caught it, they can evolve it in evolution mode. It also lights up one Pokemon out of 3, which lets him enter the bonus stage. The player has 2 minutes to complete catcher mode. Up to 255 Pokemon can be caught at the same time within a game. Catching a 256 will result in the character being set at 0, and the list being blank, but the player will receive a bonus points of 1 billion points. To put it quite simply, in catcher mode, you gotta light up some lights by hitting the Pokeball into certain areas, and if you light them up, you get a Pokemon to show up. And then you have to hit different parts of the lower part of the board, and you have to fill up this word which says cat, and then the silhouette of the Pokemon becomes the actual Pokemon, and then you throw a Pokeball at it. And if that is too difficult to understand, look it up on Bulbapedia. Evolution mode is only accessible if the player has caught at least 1 Pokemon in catcher mode. The player has to light up 3 Evo lights in the same way as we get lights. The player has to hit a spot where an arrow is pointing onto the field. Then the player can choose any of the Pokemon that's got to evolve. But then, depending on how the Pokemon evolves, the player either has to hit the EX, the EXP, and evolution stone or a link cable. The player has to do this 3 times. Some locations don't have experience or items. In just one of those locations will call the XP arrow to disappear with the message that the Pokemon is tied. If it evolves by experience, and the player will have to shoot around the outside loop or wait 10 seconds before an arrow appears. Once the player is done, the player has to get the ball inside a hole to complete evolution mode. If the Pokemon is already fully evolved, when then completing evolution mode will earn the player 10 million points as a bonus. Bloody hell. That is a lot to take in. I'm gonna be completely honest here. I don't even know if I'm having fun half the time when playing this game. Like, I want to make a joke about the game or something, but I can't, because it is literally just pinball, but with Pokemon. It is certainly pinball, that's for sure. The bonus levels are kind of fun. There's a Diglett level, which is kind of like some kind of weird alternate universe breakout, but if you miss once, that's it. And out you go, done, back to Lavender Town, where there are only Ghastly available. Sometimes I think I'm enjoying myself, and then I lose, and I feel fed up, and I have to watch a video by the underdogs to cheer myself up. At least the music is alright, mostly because the songs are all remixes from Red and Blue. Another thing that's quite frustrating is I find this game quite difficult. Maybe I'm just not good at pinball, or I just don't like pinball or something. Apparently there are legendary Pokemon in this game, but I just can't seem to find them. Look, in order to activate catcher mode in this game, you have to hit a Pokeball into either Cloyster or Weepinbell's mouth, depending on which version you're playing. And it's always really hard to do. And once you do that, you can refer to the sped up monologue that I gave you earlier. Also, you have a time limit of 2. Same goes for evolution mode, only you need to either hit Slowpoke or Ditto in that. Okay. Look, I don't want to drag this video out. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am not enjoying this game. It is frustrating and not my thing in the slightest. I have actually been playing for 4 hours straight, and I haven't made any progress. In fact, you're probably thinking, Ollie, surely you should play more than 4 hours. It's like, yeah, fair enough to think that. But, according to multiple online sites, you should be able to finish this game in 3. And if I've been playing 4 hours and haven't made any progress, that's really bad news. If there was stuff in the game to talk about, like it was really weird, or the story was weird, and it was funny and I could talk about it, I would genuinely finish it. But it's a pinball game. There is nothing other than the gameplay of pinball, which is often not particularly interesting to watch. There's no story, there's no funny moments, it's just pinball. I'm pretty sure I hate pinball. Like, I'm not saying that if you enjoy this game, you shouldn't. If you enjoy it, that's good, I'm happy for you. It's not my thing. So I'm just going to wrap this video up early. Yes, I am giving up on this Pokemon Pinball game. Look, there's some more coming, and when I do get to those, I will play them, and I'll tell you honestly what I think about them. Maybe I'll come back to this game even. This doesn't mean that I won't continue with this series. Of course I'm going to continue with this series. Actually, I've already played a lot of the games already. So, Puzzle Challenge and Stadium and Crystal, they're all completed. So I'm able to make those videos and they'll be coming out soon enough. But that doesn't mean I'm going to play... That doesn't mean I'm not going to play any of the other Pokemon Pinball games either. So, Ruby and Sapphire version will be played. But I'm not going to rate this game as, I didn't finish it.
In this game, you go through cups similar to Mario Kart and gym battles and a series of Pokemon battles with no real plot. Did that lack of intro throw you off? Oh, good, because that's how the game starts, with no intro. And if you didn't get thrown off, then shut up. You're lying. In this game, you have cups or gym battles, but they're for later. And each one has different rules, like, let's say you can only use level 20 Pokemon. You've got 8 battles to get through for each cup, and they progress in difficulty as you go on. You've got a list of Pokemon that you can choose from, varying from cup to cup. And, by the way, the NPCs are permitted to cheat. For example, in the Pikachu Cup, which you can only use Pokemon that are level 20, some of the Pokemon, the NPCs, have a level 25. It's like if you were to, enter a sword fight with some random guy, but then the guy pulls out a Glock on you. Now, a lot like in a regular Pokemon game, our goal is pretty simple. Beat the champion, and beat all the cups. That's it. And in addition, as if that wasn't bad enough, you can only use rental Pokemon. Now, in modern Pokemon games, the battle facilities honestly aren't that bad, but Stadium is one big battle facility, and it's a completely different case than Stadium. The Pokemon go by the logic that weaker Pokemon have better moves, and the stronger ones have the worst moves. And that was the original plan in Red and Blue, actually. You can kind of see that if you watch the original anime. But I think they took it a bit too far. Why does my Charizard have Growl? And why does Moltres have Razor Wind? This isn't... I'm not making this up, by the way. This is real. This is in the game. It's in addition to the opponent pulling out a Glock on you during a sword fight, it's as if you're given weapons, right? But the weapons are a butter knife, a can of deodorant, and a gun-shaped stick. Anyway, despite the shortcomings, I actually still beat all the cups, of course, but it was far from easy. Whilst, with the earlier opponents, you can kind of just sweep them with one Pokemon. The last 3 rounds are incredibly difficult. For example, in the Pika Cup that I did earlier, not only is the final boss's Pokemon 5 levels higher than you,
He also has the most insane team of all time. Most of his Pokemon are tough, but like not too bad. But I can't say the same about his Dragonair and his Alakazam. Scratch that stuff about, you know, a Glock and a sword fight. These guys are a hydrogen bomb compared to a sword. I'm not joking, I'm not exaggerating. Well, I am a little bit, but the current world record, just to set this in stone, just to give you guys a scale, the current world record for completing the entire game is speedrunner Worcester, who has done it in 19 hours, 41 minutes, and 57 seconds as his final time. And most of that is spent on this single fight. I wonder what the other guys have done it in. Wait, he's the only other fucker that's done it. No one else has attempted this. No one has the willpower to sit through this. This is insane. This game also uses Gen 1 battle mechanics, which are a mess, frankly enough, and make me want to jump into a deep pit of snow and never come back up again. I don't have the time nor the expertise to discuss Gen 1 battle mechanics in detail, but there are plenty of other videos on this topic. So, once I completed all the cups, which I didn't know that there were gym leaders. This is something I wrote in the script after. Yeah, I didn't know there were gym leaders. I thought I was just done. Nope. 60% of the game is left to go, which took forever, by the way. I actually stayed up late at night, twice in a row, doing that. I love Pokemon battles, man, but once you fight the 20th trainer that day, back to back with no, like, fun stuff in between, like catching Pokemon, moving around, talking to NPCs, you've kind of had enough. But luckily enough, this isn't really a full, I guess, feature-length game. It's not like Diamond and Pearl or something. Also, before you fight the gym leaders, you have to fight the gym trainers, like in the mainline Pokemon games, and they're pretty weak. But the ones before Giovanni are insane. There's a random Team Rocket grunt with Moltres. They didn't even use it in the fight, by the way. They just didn't use the Moltres. There's some school kid with Zapdos, and some girl with Articuno. I didn't really expect the 3 legendary bird Pokemon to be held by, some guy that probably, like, runs around supermarkets and unpeels bananas. A small child that I could, like, punch in the face, and that's some bratty little girl. Now, once you beat all the gym leaders, you have to fight the Elite Four, because obviously that's how most Pokemon games go, so it's going to be the same with this one. They're a nice challenge, I'll be honest, but I should probably mention that the only Ghost-type specialist in the game, Agatha, and I guess this also applies for Gen 1, has more poison types than ghost types. You know, fair enough. There's only one viable ghost type Pokemon. But why didn't they just make her a poison type specialist instead? Or better yet, something else, something different. Because there's already a poison type specialist in the game. Like, I don't know, normal or something. I guess that wouldn't really be very intimidating. Oh no! She's about to send out her strongest Pokemon! That's a fucking rat! Anyway, after you actually beat the Elite Four, of course, you fight Blue, but he's just called Rival in this game for some reason. Imagine getting pregnant and waiting 9 months just to call your child Rival. I mean, he is difficult, of course, but I did beat him eventually. And I'm done with this game. I'm gonna be honest here, I thought it was a lot more fun than I thought it was gonna be. But, you know, there are better games to come. 2 long nights and a bit to beat. 6 out of 10. Back, and today we're going to be playing another Pokemon game. Today I'm going to be playing Pokemon Puzzle Challenge for the Game Boy Color. Hopefully it's going to be better than Pokemon Pinball. First of all, I love the sprites in this game. They're so animated and they feel alive. It's very fun to look at. Anyway, the gameplay. So it seems that we've got 6 modes. We've got Marathon, Challenge, Time Zone, Line Clear, Puzzle. I mean, I thought that's what all the modes were, but... and Garbage! With an exclamation point. It feels like it's directed at me. It's like they're screaming garbage in my face. And I don't know whether to laugh or cry. So, it's one of those color matching games. You've got a grid with blocks on it, you make 3 lines, make 3 blocks line up in a row, and then they're destroyed. Pretty simple, but it gets quite intense and kind of fun. You go around defeating all the Johto gym leaders and collecting badges. It's not, you know, an original concept exactly, but it works for a Pokemon game, oddly enough. You start with 3 Pokemon: Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile. As far as I can tell, the Pokemon have no difference in the gameplay. They kind of act as lives, kind of. So if you lose a round, the Pokemon faints, and you can't use them again. It's like, come on, Chikorita. You're being dramatic. You lost a color matching game against a bird. No need to pass the fuck out. So, there's a couple of Pokemon in this game, and all of them are Gen 2 Pokemon. But unfortunately, Espeon is not in the game. So you line up 3 blocks, same color, and that destroys them. The more blocks you match up, the better. It's quite simple, honestly. There's also these special blocks. They have an exclamation mark on them, so I suppose that they must be related to garbage. And if you line them all up, you turn into JB Oppenheimer and your Le kills people. Oh, okay, well, you just automatically win. But in my headcanon, it blows up, killing the gym leader on all of their Pokemon, and you are declared the winner by default. Due to my ADHD, I actually find these color matching games a bit difficult to keep up with because they're quite fast paced. It's, you know, the color matching part, that's all fine, it's just, sometimes it's too fast for me to keep up with. Like Pokemon Pinball, it's a bit difficult to write about the game, because there's no story, it's just puzzles. I must say though, this game is the most dramatic you lose scene I've ever seen in a Pokemon game. The final opponent on the easy mode, which is the one I played on, because, you know, I'm a loser, is Claire and had Dragonair. Good rhyme on my part. I must admit, this game is really short, and I'm sorry that therefore the video is short. There's not really anything I can do about it. And I looked it up earlier, there's actually a kind of sequel to the N64 called Pokemon Puzzle League. It came out right after this one, so guess that's the next game I'm going to be playing. Puzzle Challenge was quite short, but I'll be honest here, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I'll see you next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you hate yourself, like I do. Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at Pokemon Puzzle League, which is a kind of sequel to Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, which I covered in a previous video. And if you want to fully enjoy this video, look at that one first. This game obviously has the same gameplay mechanics, but this one has a story mode, and obviously it's super good, so I'm going to tell you everything about it. There's a fully animated and fully bit-crushed scene where there's like a cutscene where Ash Ketchum gets a call from Professor Oak to go to the Pokemon Puzzle League village. we're not told anything about this village. But, Ash seems excited about it, so let's go, I suppose. There's, it's basically just a big menu. And there's the help section, which has options as to how to play. We're going to look at that first. It shows a diagram of how to use the controls with an image of Professor Oak standing against the background of an image of the observable universe, like some kind of omnipotent god in a Final Fantasy game. Oh, please, great Lord Samson Oak, please don't fuck my mum! Luckily enough, Professor Oak is actually quite chill and teaches us the game mechanics while providing us some visuals with his oh so powerful powers. This game actually does have a tutorial, unlike Puzzle Challenge, and it's quite helpful. You learn about combos and other stuff, and I actually now know how to play the game properly. So you play against all the gym leaders, kind of like in Puzzle Challenge. I mean, exactly like in Puzzle Challenge. I chose easy mode because I'm a loser that sucks at fast-paced color matching games, and also because I want this done as soon as possible. I have Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander, and Pikachu to pick from, and they just function the same way that Pokemon do in Puzzle Challenge, being that their existence doesn't change anything and that they're just glorified lives. And unfortunately, they don't evolve. We're really sticking true to the anime here. The final opponent is Giovanni, and he's not hard, but that's probably just because I chose the easy mode. Guys, I'm gonna be honest, I'm really sorry. This video is really short, and it's even shorter than the last one. In fact, it's about to end. And it's because everything that I want to say about the gameplay and stuff, I said in the Puzzle Challenge video. So if you saw the Puzzle Challenge video, there you go. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it. You should watch it. You should have watched it before you watched this one. I said that at the start. But I like this game more than Puzzle Challenge, and let's be real here, the story isn't much. It's not much. It's nothing to write home about. It's better than Puzzle Challenge. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Hopefully my next video will be longer and better, and I'll swear more in that one. Or something. Fuck off. Yo, I've got a disclaimer. You should watch the original Pokémon Stadium video that I made about a week ago before you watch this one. That gives context and explains a load of stuff. Anyway, thanks, and enjoy the video. Pokémon Stadium 2 is going to be our topic for today. It's pretty much just got the same mechanics as the original Pokémon Stadium, other than the fact, you know, it's updated for Generation 2 because we've got Generation 2 Pokémon. It has better looking UI, which is nice. And the opposing trainer will actually talk to you, like in Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, which since then hasn't been a feature ever again. It's only in... that feature is only in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, and this game. What's up with that, Game Freak? We need to bring that shit back. Oh, no. It's gonna be like the last few games, where it's not really that different from the original, and there's not much to talk about in the first place, isn't there? Once again, it doesn't have a story like the last few games. But I've made a solution. We can just make our own. That seems to be what everyone does these days with their OCs and other bullshit. Hey, so my headcanon is, I don't know, a random child got kidnapped and has to fight other Pokemon trainers to the death to, I don't know, claim his freedom or something. But that's what I came up with. As you can probably imagine, it's got the same cup system as the original, and like in Gold and Silver, once you beat all the Johto gym leaders, you get to fight all the Kanto gym leaders, which is cool. There's more content, but it just feels like padding, particularly as I stayed up all night doing all the gym leaders, and then I found there's 8 more with all these other trainers and stuff. Oh my god, it was so annoying because I was like, oh no, I've got another night to go through this, and I'm gonna be real here, I've just played the same game twice in a row. So, it was a bit annoying, but... So, it just means that we have to suffer more, and our nameless protagonist is never free, and it's actually a commentary on modern society, about how we're never free from, like, criticisms of our health or something, because it's a gym. Don't listen to me. There's some random fucker in one of the cups called Marty, and he has a Mew, which is the rarest Pokemon of all time, and he named it Mewster. Like, come on, what a Chad! It ended up taking me about like 30 minutes to beat him. Some of these opponents are like insanely hard. I can't even use Mew myself. He's off the table. In addition to the fact that they're also using illegal Pokemon, they just straight up cheat. Unlike in the previous game, the opponent can use items like full restores and potions, and I can't. This is ridiculous. In addition to this, some random fucker in the Little Cup with a Centret pulled out a Berserk gene, which is Mewtwo's signature item. Imagine you encounter some random squirrel in the forest and they pull out Excalibur on you. Halfway through the gym leader castle thing, Team Rocket show up, and they are a pain in the ass. There's a Team Rocket grunt where all of this Pokemon just kill themselves with self-destruct and explosion. At least doing me a favour. There's another one that's a toxic schooling protecting cunt, and the other just spams protect. I'm wondering what the hell was going through Game Freak's mind when they, designed this.
We need to come up with an idea about what we should do with the movesets of the Pokemon of the Team Rocket runs. Hey, you over there, man with clothes and an appearance identical to mine. What do you think we should do? I don't know. What about we only give one of their Pokemon explosion? I like that. You got any more of those? What about Toxic Stool? I mean, everyone likes Toxic Stool, right? Yeah, well, I know, make them spam protect. That right there, that's a good idea. Well done, Jack. You're getting a promotion.
The final opponent in the game is, of course, like last time, it's your rival, Silver. And in this game, he's actually referred to as Silver, instead of just rival, like in the previous game, and he is surprisingly easy. You just beat him, and that's the game done. 6 out of 10. I'll see you next time for Pokemon Crystal. And if any of you guys are wondering, yes, earlier on when I did my absolutely terrible piece of acting, whatever you want to call it, the skit, I did actually film that with my phone, and I set it to 4K. So, someone go put that on Letterboxd or something.